going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video. If you guys haven't already hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate you all coming back. I was going to do this with the green screen, and I apologize if you guys hear that motor in the background. That's this big computer that I'm doing it on, but I can't find my hub plug for my Apple laptop. With that being said, it's going to be done like this. I thought that the video was more important than really what was some of the side effects and stuff like that. But with that being said, I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. No podcast episode out on Saturday because there's nothing really to talk about in terms of Giants. I'm going to have to start getting creative. Obviously, the Senior Bowl has been occurring these last few days in terms of the practices. I just want to get a feel for the prospects, some research done, the Senior Bowl game actually going, before I start judging who the Giants should draft, who the Giants should not draft, who they should stay away from, all that other stuff. And we also got the Combine at the end of the month, so there's a lot to judge on, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, spring training is really likely not happening on time, so there's barely any optimism there, so that means, once again, I'll have to get creative. But in this video, I'm going to talk about three separate things. I'm going to mention a fourth thing. But it's really along the lines of the Giants and some of the coaching hires, also keeping Patrick Graham and hiring a woman to their coaching staff. I think it's the head of coaching operations. I'm going to mention that real quickly and go on to the other stuff. But obviously that's breaking barriers, probably is one of the higher positions held by a woman in this organization for the first time. So breaking barriers there. I forget her name. I think it starts with Laura and then it's something else, but shout outs to her. She was actually hired from Buffalo, so we're stealing people. We keep stealing people from Buffalo. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. So for my Buffalo fans that have recently subscribed to me and all that other stuff, Jolly Mom was one of them. He was in the chat for Boys in Big Apple on Wednesday, which is now a Wednesday show, and we were discussing some stuff, but we're going to keep stealing Buffalo staff, I guess. Anyway, I want to talk about Mike Kafka first. The Giants were down to 3 candidates for their offensive coordinator position. The Giants interviewed Pep Hamilton on Tuesday, Mike Kafka on Wednesday, and on Thursday they interviewed Chad O'Shea. Chad O'Shea was at the bottom of my list out of those 3 because he didn't really have success in Miami in his first year, and he was fired. Obviously, we know the thing with Flores, 4 coordinators in 3 years on the offensive side of the football. It's not all his fault because obviously the offense wasn't doing a great job in 2019. It was really the defense at the end of the season. With that being said, Pep Hamilton, he was my number one guy because I really like what he did with Justin Herbert. He also did some nice things with Davis Mills. He was an offensive coordinator when Andrew Luck was still around. So there's a lot of things there. I think he had a really good resume for the job. And then my number 2 guy, which was right in the middle, is Mike Kafka. And he, as of right now, is going to be hired as the New York Giants' next offensive coordinator under Brian Daboll. Now, I have mixed reviews about this. So as a player, he started in 2010 with the stinky Philadelphia Eagles out of Northwestern. Was actually a 4th-round pick of theirs. Stayed there until 2011. I guess took 2012 off, then signed with the New England Patriots in 2013. Then moved on to the Jaguars in the same year, 2014, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Mike Lennon was there, if I'm not mistaken. If he wasn't, whatever the case may be. 2015 with the Minnesota Vikings. 2015 also with the Titans and the Bengals. Then he retired. 2016, he began his coaching career at Northwestern, his college, as a graduate assistant. Then he moved on to the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL as an offensive quality control coach under Andy Reid. Then moved to quarterbacks coach in 2018. Held that position until 2019. I believe that was because Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator, left for Chicago. Bieniemy gets promoted to offensive coordinator. Then Kafka goes to the quarterbacks coach position. Then in 2020, 2021, he still held the quarterback coach position, but he also got attached to the passing game coordinator position 2020, 2021. Obviously won a Super Bowl with them in 2020, and, well, really it was 2020, but it was the 2019 season. With that being said, he's now hired as the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. Just overall some stats from 2011. In 4 games, but I believe this may have been 1 game. Maybe not. I don't know. 11 completions, 16 attempts, 68.8 completion percentage, 107 yards, and then 2 interceptions. That's just, some of the stats of his career overall. But how do I feel about this? I kind of said a little bit of something on Twitter, and I'm going to try to pull it up if I can. If I can't, then obviously I'll try to restate it as best as possible. And, of course, I can't sign in, but that's okay, so I'll restate it. I basically said, look, I wanted Pep Hamilton as the offensive coordinator, and there's going to be a couple of roadblocks and a couple of different things we're going to see with Mike Kafka as the offensive coordinator. This is his first time being an offensive coordinator. Nonetheless, he's only been a coach since 2016. So likely, in my opinion, prediction, whatever, this could change. Brian Daboll will start off as the play caller, while you have Kafka and Shea Tierney, which we'll talk about in a little bit, on the sidelines really looking at the offense. Obviously, Shea Tierney with the quarterbacks, most likely because he was hired as the quarterback's coach. So that's really the negative, that Kafka really hasn't been a coach for that long. But there's the positive side of it. He may bring over a couple of concepts from the Kansas City Chiefs that could make this offense really explosive. Kind of mixing those ideas. Brian Daboll said, well, what we do really depends on the players, not scheme. It's not like, oh, the players, we get them because of the scheme. No, it's not like the years before. At least right now it's not. So he could bring over a couple of concepts. He was the passing game coordinator, so he does have experience there. A lot of the guys from Andy Reid's coaching tree actually turned out to be good offensive coordinators to some extent, and then when they moved on to head coach, obviously didn't pan out for a lot of them. Matt Nagy didn't pan out. He had 2-3 winning seasons, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Only 1 or 2 playoff appearances, 2018 being the highlight of his coaching career. And then Doug Peterson, the Super Bowl in 2017, so there's that. And funny enough, now that I remember, one Reid guy beat the other Reid guy. Peterson beat Nagy in the 2018 wildcard game in the NFC. Obviously, Cody Parkey, all that other stuff. But most of Andy Reid's guys have gone on to be good OCs. Now, once again, yes, he will need some guidance. And another thing that I have caught on to, at least in some cases, some of these backup quarterbacks in the National Football League that don't pan out in the NFL or don't have really long careers, they become offensive coordinators and they become good offensive coordinators. One of the most notable is, what's-his-face? Kellen Moore from the Dallas Cowboys. I think there's a couple other ones out there that they didn't have successful NFL careers. They were quarterbacks but became really good offensive coordinators. So there's some positives, there's some negatives. Obviously on the field it has to be working. It has to work on the field. It has to show production. It just has to show it works because, we don't want another offensive drought like we've had the last few years, especially the last 2 under Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens. But overall on this hire, I'm not going to go too much further into it because I pretty much have stretched the whole thing out. Kafka, there's some positives, some negatives. Negatives is, well, he hasn't been a coach that long. And the positives, well, he's possibly bringing over some concepts from Kansas City. He was under Andy Reid, so he learned some things, hopefully. And then you'll have Daboll as the play caller, so he won't be up to the test right away, most likely. And then a lot of backup quarterbacks become offensive coordinators and good offensive coordinators at that. So there's that about Mike Kafka. I'll talk about Patrick Graham in just a second. I want to go on Shea Tierney now. He was rumored, I would say, a few short days after Daboll was hired to become the quarterback's coach, and a name just to float around. I know the assistant offensive line coach was rumored to come to the Giants. Obviously, that has not come to fruition yet. That's being Ryan Wendell. They're probably promoting him in Buffalo. We'll see what happens, honestly. With that being said, let's talk about Shea Tierney. So he is 35 years old, and one thing I will notice, and it's a good thing, really, with the New York Giants is, put aside Patrick Graham, the Giants are getting younger with the coaching staff, and that really correlates to the game. You don't want 60 50-year-olds or 57-year-olds unless they're proven for a very long time to be offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators. This team is getting younger. Dable, I think, is 45, 46 years old. Shea Tierney, the quarterback's coach, is 35. And Mike Kafka is actually younger. He's 34. But with that being said, a little background on Shea Tierney. He was born in Philadelphia, went to NC State. He started his coaching career as a graduate assistant at NC State between 2011 and 2012, then moved to the Philadelphia Eagles as a football analyst and a coaching intern from 2013 to 2015, went to Alabama under Nick Saban in 2016 and 2017. That's where he met Brian Dable as an offensive analyst. 2018, we'll go more into the story because there's actually a good article out there written on the Buffalo News. We'll talk about it. Josh Allen and Brian Dable had some comments about Shea Tierney. But with that being said, he took the job in Buffalo with Brian Dable and Sean McDermott, 2018, 2019, also as well as an offensive assistant. Was promoted to assistant quarterbacks coach in 2020, 2021, and then now is the quarterbacks coach for the New York Giants 2022 and forward. He also won a national championship with Alabama in 2017. And I was not really informed on this guy, for lack of better words. All I know is, hey, he was the Bills' assistant quarterbacks coach. But with that being said, I wanted Chaplinski out of here. It just seemed like it wasn't working. And he was a judge guy. So I'm like, let's get some younger guys. Let's get some new philosophy guys in the building. So with that being said, I do want to go through this article a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't take too long because this is a really long article, but I have some quotes about it. Let me see my first quote that I put in. So this part is about Josh Allen speaking about how supposedly Shea Tierney is the most or was the most underpaid Buffalo Bills assistant. More recently, Allen expanded on the thought with his money quote on what Tierney means to the organization. He's the most underpaid person working for the Bills, I'll tell you that. He does so much for this team and this offense. Obviously, Josh Allen talking about Shea Tierney. He's been here since day one, Allen continued. He's basically Dable's right-hand man. He makes all the cut-ups. He makes all the install pages. He runs our scout defense. Just the energy and the juice he brings, too. He's just one of those guys, and he loves football. That's what I love about him. I also have a couple more quotes to get to. He goes on to say when he's in our meeting rooms, it's awesome because of the things he sees. He's been around a lot of really good coaches in the past, and he's been able to kind of take some things from those guys and apply it to what he's doing now. He's still very young, but I think he's got a long, long future in this NFL business. Then we go on to what Brian Dable said about him. He's a total team player, Dable said. Anything that he's asked to do, he does it with a full-on mindset that I'm going to do the best job I can, whatever that may be. We've all started at certain spots in our careers, and once in a while you catch a break along the way. I think he's very appreciative for Sean bringing him in coming from Alabama. He's a valuable asset, really, to the entire offense. He's got a great personality about him. I just appreciate how much of a team player he is. Those guys are kind of hard to find. Now, they also mentioned in the article, Tierney and Dable met in 2017 on Alabama. Dable said, I tried to go in there early and stay as late as we had to. Every day I got there, his car was there. He didn't leave until I left. You appreciate that. He's smart. He's dependable. He's got really good character. He's a hard worker. I'd say probably most important, he's a great teammate. Then we go to Tierney himself. He says, I could be here all day long telling you how much he means to me and what he's done for me, Tierney said. He's probably talking about Brian Dable. It's probably turned into my most fulfilling relationship I've had with a coach. I can't say enough about him. Great coach and an even better man. He's meant a lot to me and my family, and I'm just really grateful that I have a mentor and a friend like him. Then Tierney goes on to say, are you leaving tonight? Tierney said, he goes on to say, I said, let me call Emily and tell her I took the job. Before she does that I took the job. I'm going to pack some stuff up tonight and I'll get on the road in the morning. Shea Tierney obviously talking about Brian Dable asking him, when are you coming to Buffalo? Because that's when he took the job. And he literally was in Nick Saban's house when he got the call from Sean McDermott to come over to Buffalo. With that being said, more there. It's hard for a young kid like that to come in a situation where basically the whole weight of a city is thrust upon your shoulders, and quite honestly, half of them don't think you could do it, and the other half aren't sure you could do it. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Josh Allen here. He took that responsibility head on and embraced it. He embodies Buffalo, and felt really good to see him get that contract because he deserved it. He deserves it. Yes, that's obviously about Josh Allen. Shea Tierney speaking about him. Everybody in the room, top to bottom, we just have a lot of trust between us, Tierney said. It doesn't matter who is talking to them. They trust what we're saying is the right thing. It's going to help them. I think that's the way you impact players the most. Number one, they have to trust you. That means the most to me. When a player trusts me, he knows I'm telling him the right thing. And then he goes on to say, these guys are all smart. They know you're going to give them the right answer, so you've got to be prepared for that every day. They force me to work really hard because I know they work hard. You have to be open on your game. I'm in here with Dabs, Dorsey, they're really sharp coaches, so I have to be on my game too, just to measure up to them. The whole room makes each other better. The Bills coaches and quarterbacks compete in the meeting room, quizzing each other on the playbook. That's just a fun fact thrown in there. Tierney also says, hopefully we're making them better players, Tierney said, but they're definitely making us better coaches with how hard they work and how smart they are. And then final quote, the only thing I want to do is win, no matter what role I'm in, he said. The coolest thing I have is a national championship ring in Alabama. Now I want a Super Bowl ring. This was done in August, so there's going to be some quotes about Super Bowls and stuff like that. And I want a Super Bowl ring. I want it to be in Buffalo because this place deserves it. It's a great place. The fans are unbelievable. That's my goal. I just really want to win a Super Bowl here, do the best job I can, and after that, all that stuff that comes with success will take care of itself. So obviously, once again, this was written back in August. Josh Allen, Brian Dable, Shea Tierney, all that stuff. So just some final thoughts on Shea Tierney. And this is like my first time reading the article as I'm reading it to you guys. I didn't know this much about Shea Tierney, A. B, I didn't know he was this connected to Brian Dable. Obviously, I looked up before I did this video that he met with Brian Dable at Alabama. And then, obviously, he means so much, or meant so much, to that Buffalo Bills offense, and really just overall, not just being the quarterback's coach, but assisting, other things as well, running that scout defense, marking things down. So I don't think it's going to be the biggest loss in the world for the Giants not to get Dorsey. Obviously, once again, Dorsey is a first-time coordinator, learned under Dable. Kafka is a first-time coordinator, learned under Andy Reid. Two different things. Also, he learned under Eric Bieniemy. My thing is here, Dorsey, but also it's not like Shea Tierney and Brian Dable did not know each other or didn't get along or really didn't associate with each other. It seems like he was very involved, Shea Tierney, in that offense as an offensive analyst, offensive assistant, and quarterbacks coach as well. So very proud, very happy to have him on if this is the truth that Josh Allen and Brian Dable are saying about him. I'm surprised they really didn't get any quotes from Sean McDermott. But with that being said, McDermott really focuses more on that defense. So I want to talk about Patrick Graham real quickly, and then we can pretty much call it quits for this video. So Patrick Graham is officially out of the running as the Minnesota Vikings' next head coach. It seems to be Kevin O'Connell. Now, the thing with the Vikings is they have to wait till after the Super Bowl to hire O'Connell because they can't do that in advance, and it's just the process of that. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl. They're facing the Bengals, whatever the case may be. Their other guy that was another finalist besides Graham and O'Connell was Raheem Morris. Jim Harbaugh elected to go back to Ann Arbor, Michigan, obviously, and then Raheem Morris was also a finalist, but also with the same situation, they would have had to wait after the Super Bowl, no matter the result, to hire him. So obviously they're in that boat. Patrick Graham, I thought that one video that he did interviewing with whoever, it was like a questionnaire or something like that, he really impressed me, and I thought he was going to get the job once Harbaugh was out. Then reports came in, well, looks like Kevin O'Connell's going to be the finalist, and he's going to be the next head coach after the Super Bowl, so there's that. But just overall, I mean, obviously we would have gotten some comp picks for the Rooney Rule, which is stupid in terms of the Rooney Rule. Rooney Rule is completely bullshit. I think it should be removed. Obviously, we talked about that on Boys in the Big Apple. But more to this point, we would have gotten comp picks plus possibly Don Martindale. With that being said, though, it's good. It's good that Patrick Graham is staying. More continuity. He'll probably have a chance 1, 2, 3 years down the line, including this coming year, to really show out with improved talent, because we all know that in the past, the last 2 years, he didn't have the best talent on defense, especially at the pass rusher position where he couldn't blitz, he couldn't do anything, he just had to play soft zone. So I'm really interested to see what he's got in the future with the New York Giants. And with that being said, if you would have brought in a defensive coordinator like Don Martindale or Vic Fangio, I really feel that there would have been a little bit of turnover on the defensive side of the football, though. Well, this guy, he's good, but, get him out of here. I just feel like there would have been different feelings. With that being said, keeping Patrick Graham, guys like Adoree Jackson will probably stay, Aaron Robinson, Jaron Williams as a reserve guy, Darnay Holmes probably staying, Tate Crowder staying. There's a couple other guys on the roster that we would have been, oh my God, are they going to stay? They're not going to stay under this defensive coordinator. But with Patrick Graham, with the continuity, the good continuity being there, they're probably going to stay. And that's a good thing, because you don't have to spend on so many positions getting someone else's guy, where Graham, obviously, he works around the players for his scheme, and you don't have to go out and draft 4 defensive players when you have 9 picks in the NFL draft. I mean, obviously, depth is depth, but obviously the offense is a big concern and really needs to be assessed throughout free agency and the NFL draft. With that being said, guys, if you already like, comment, and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops your jobs. Appreciate y'all coming back. Obviously, once again, this is not my normal format. However, appreciate you guys. Once again, thanks to the new subscribers. We're slowly growing this channel. I think eventually we will have Twin Bill on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcast, eventually on those platforms. So you guys just, if you miss it, and if you don't want to see our ugly-ass faces, you go on Spotify, you go on Podbean, you listen to the podcast, and it will probably get released sooner, if anything. So peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool, and let's go Giants, baby.